Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Quentin here, and welcome to tutorial number 6. And in this tutorial, we are going to talk about variables in PHP. Okay, so what are variables? Well, if you think back to your first couple of maths classes in high school, where you first started working with variables, then you know that a variable is a placeholder for another value. So in other words, in maths class, you might have had a variable called x and set that equal to 2. So you might have said let x equal 2. Okay? Then you know that x holds the value of 2. So later on, whenever you had a sentence like I have x dogs, okay, you knew that x is holding the value of 2. So this sentence would read I have 2 dogs. Okay? And then this would also be dynamic as well, because the value of x, whatever the value of x is, that's what our sentence prints out. So let's say the value of x was then changed to 12, then this sentence would read I have 12 dogs. Okay? So that's basically the same concept of variables in PHP as well. Okay, a variable is just a placeholder in the computer's memory where we can store a value that we are going to want to use later on in the program. So this might come in handy when we start asking the user for their name and then printing out hello and whatever their name is. Okay, so in programming, we won't often name a variable x or something because it's not very descriptive. It doesn't tell us what kind of value we're storing in that variable. Okay, so if we're going to store the user's name, we might actually have a variable called name, and then we set that equal to Quentin, because my name's Quentin. And then later on, when we wanted to print out on the screen hello Quentin, we could just go ahead and say hello, well, it could be echo hello and then the variable name, if I can spell it correctly. And then you know that obviously if I change the value of name, then whatever's going to be printed out would change as well. So our program starts becoming a little bit dynamic, and that's why we like to use variables. Okay, so let's say name was Jessica. Okay, then this would print out hello Jessica. Okay, make sense? So variables just make our programs more dynamic because they get to change depending on users' input, and obviously that's a lot more helpful to users, and that's where variables come in handy. Okay, so let's take a look at how to declare a variable, because this actually isn't right. You can't just go ahead and type a variable like name. We can't just type the word name because PHP doesn't know what the heck we're trying to do here. Okay, so to tell PHP, listen up, I want to make a variable, you go ahead and you type in this $, just like that, and then you type your variable name. So let's say I was dealing with names, people's names, then I would go ahead and I'd name my variable name, and then we could set that equal to a value. Okay, likewise, if we had a variable called age, then $age and whatever we want age to be equal to. Okay, now we can name our variable almost anything we want, but there are a few rules. Okay, so for instance, you can't have a space in your variable. Okay, you can't have like name of person, because as you can see, this is now blue, but the rest of this stuff is kind of black. So it's not, PHP isn't going to see this as one variable. So if you wanted to use a space in your variable name, you'd have to go name underscore of underscore person. Okay, and the next couple of rules are that you can't actually use any special symbols. Okay, so You can't try have like backslashes or anything like that, or forward slashes. No, it's a backslash. You can't have any of those funny symbols in your variable name either. And you can have numbers, so you can have something like name1 or name2, but you can't start your variable name with a number. So in other words, if you try to name a variable $1 name, okay, you can see that this already is not going to work because it hasn't turned blue like a variable should in PHP when we're dealing with Notepad++. So basically, if you want to make a variable, stick to alphanumeric characters, but never start with a number. Okay. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this equal sign. Okay, because whenever we create a variable in PHP, we have to store a value in that variable straight away. Okay, so you're not going to go ahead and just type in a variable name and bam, you have a variable. You still have to store a value in there. Okay, so the purpose of having this equal sign here is because that is our assignment operator. So in other words, it's going to assign whatever value we put on the right into the variable on the left. Okay, so this is something you guys are going to have to get used to in programming, is we're going to take values on the right of the equal sign and then put them in the left. Okay, so this is the assignment operator. It doesn't mean that this is going to be equal to this value. It means that we're taking the value and putting it into the variable. Okay, so my name is Quinton, so I'm going to go ahead and put Quinton in here as my value. Okay, make sure to surround your value, if it's a string or if it's a bunch of letters, make sure to surround it with quotation marks, because those quotation marks mean that this is a string. Okay, and more on that when we talk about data types, but basically if you're going to have a collection of letters, they have to be surrounded with quotation marks. Okay, and the next thing is we could also store a number, so we could go ahead and store age, and my age is 21, so that would work just fine. And now we can actually print these things out on the screen, so we can echo out our variable. So I'm going to echo out name, and then I'm going to echo out age as well, so we'll put a comma between them. Okay, name and age. So now when I click save, make sure that XAMPP is running. Okay, and then go back to Firefox. So I should minimize that for you guys to see. I need to go to localhost, tutorials, and I think it is tutorial 6. Okay, so now you can see I've printed out Quinton and 21. So I didn't put any spaces in between here, but I've actually echoed out my two variables, as you can see. So that's it for how to make a variable and how to store a value in a variable. But be sure to come back in the next tutorial where I'm going to talk about data types, and then I'm also going to talk about printing out variables on the screen. So I will show you guys how to actually print it out properly so that we don't have them pushed right up against each other. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Please feel free to leave a comment, like, or share the video. It's really going to help my channel grow, and I'll see you guys next time.